All right, we're back here on SportsLine. Bracket Talk tonight, talking the NCAA tournament, which I contend, after looking over the bracket and thinking of everything that happened this weekend, may just be the best NCAA tournament opening weekend that we've ever seen. Think about it. All the upsets, round one, 10 double-digit seeds win. You got multiple buzzer beaters, terrific finishes, and for the most part, Michigan State not included here, you've got the top teams moving on to the Sweet 16. So you're going to have the best basketball, the best teams playing from this point forward. Your thoughts on that? Am I right? Are the experts right that this has been the best NCAA tournament opening weekend? Why do you think it has been? Or give me an example of something that you think has been better than what we've seen in this opening weekend. Also, your reaction to Middle Tennessee. What a run. Ending yesterday, but to get that elusive Conference USA tournament title, get into the tournament for the second time in 27 years, and make some hay. Go out there and get one of the biggest wins that we've ever seen by one of the little guys in the NCAA tournament and knocking off Michigan State. Pretty special for Kermit Davis and his crew. 737-7767 is our number tonight. Let's go to Brian. Brian, good evening. You are first up here on SportsLine.
Hey, good evening. How come it always seems like the commercials and then like the regular TV program, the volume is like way different? Somebody explained that to me in college once. I couldn't remember why that is. But anyway, could it be that MTSU just got really lucky and that Michigan State wasn't that good? Because in the second round, I can't remember the team, but I said, I'll bet you that second round team trounces them. And sure enough, they did. And I think you could have made some hay betting against MTSU in the second round because they were probably still giving away points, but probably not as many if it wasn't for that first round shocker. Also, what's up with Yale? And whatever happened to UCLA, but I'm going to pick Kansas. And I think that's all I got.
All right, Brian, we appreciate the call. To answer the first question, absolutely not. Michigan State was loaded. They could cut down the nets if you gave them a mulligan and let them play this tournament over, or frankly gave them another 15 seed. I think there's a very good shot. Not just are they still playing, but they're playing next week in Houston as one of the teams with the chance to win. That team did everything right. They defend really well. They have probably the player of the year in the country in Denzel Valentine. They have the third best three-point shooter in the country in Bryn Forbes. They have size inside. They rebound really well. They execute well offensively. And frankly, with the exception of kind of an off day from Valentine, they pretty much did all of those things against Middle Tennessee. But that matchup I talked about, not being able to defend the undersized bigs off the dribble of Middle Tennessee, and then Middle Tennessee knocking down a bunch of shots from the outside, that was the recipe. But to me, it was great execution from Middle going to win the game more than it was Michigan State not playing well and a bad matchup. And if you would have, I'm not totally sure where you're following the betting line there for yesterday, but if you would have bet against Middle Tennessee, you would have been pretty happy with your result yesterday, but I don't think that had anything to do with what happened on Friday. Yale was terrific in the tournament. Obviously, they get the win over Baylor, who, gosh, if you're Scott Drew, that's back-to-back years with good teams, with top 5 seeds in the NCAA tournament, and losing in your opening game. Oof. That's rough. Yale was able to move on, gave Duke a little bit of a scare down the stretch there, but clearly the way Duke played most of that game, I think they're the better team. And now I think Duke has a great opportunity against the weakest of the 4 seeds in Oregon in the Sweet 16. So the national champs still very much alive and well in this tournament. Kansas, yeah, I'll agree with you. I think they are probably the favorite of the group that is left. Although North Carolina, when they get going offensively, are really tough to stop. I think Kansas-Carolina in the championship game is probably the most entertaining game that you can see yet in terms of a bunch of NBA potential stars, lots of offense going back and forth. And UCLA, Sweet 16 last year, not there this year. Younger team, didn't live up to expectations in a Pac-12, which got slaughtered this weekend. 7 teams, all 8 seeds or higher. Everybody but Utah and Oregon losing game number 1. And then Oregon loses in game number 2 as a 3 seed. And Oregon had to escape last night against St. Joe's to move on. And I think is very vulnerable, like I said, moving on. So Pac-12, just a down year. UCLA among that group. Let's go to David. David, good evening. You're next up here on SportsLine.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing well.
Hey, I would just like to say, Middle Tennessee State, they pulled off a shocker, and I just don't understand why they just didn't do more against Syracuse than what they could have done. But I just want to say this. I've been looking at this tournament, and it's like it's a lot of NBA stars that I see that could push a lot of stars that's in the NBA that is not that good. The way they play in the tournament is more faster than what they do in the regular season. And that was just something that I'd like to see more that they would do in the regular season, that way they push the ball up and down the court. And that's all I have to say.
All right. Thank you, David. I think you do see at times some great pace in the NCAA tournament because there's a level of desperation there because you're playing for your season at that point. And the other thing is you're neutral environments. You don't have a home court advantage or a raucous crowd that's really pushing on one team and maybe making the other team slow down a little bit to communicate and run their stuff, all on neutral floors. So in almost all cases here, there's not such a spread out or considerable advantage for one team. And therefore, I think a lot of people feel like they can run their stuff and run as fast as they want in the NCAA tournament. And Middle, like I said, I think it was as much as anything a matchup thing against Syracuse. Is that zone really forced them to knock down shots from the outside? They only shot 30% from the game. They had 8 threes in the first half Friday against Michigan State. They ended up with 8 yesterday for the game. That's a big difference. You make shots, you look pretty good. You don't make shots, you can look pretty bad. And when they weren't knocking down shots against the 2-3 zone, they had no ability to drive on that zone like they did against Michigan State, get to the basket, get to the foul line. And because of that, it just became a really bad matchup and started to get away from them in the second half. Some of the players said that they didn't think they had the same level of energy that they had on Friday. I don't know if that's kind of the hangover of nobody expected you to do this. Then all of a sudden you win a game. Everybody's celebrating you around the country and talking about you. But, oh, by the way, you got to get back out there and play 48 hours later. Maybe that's part of it. You know, these guys hadn't done that or been a part of that before. So maybe that wears on you too. But nonetheless, 25 wins to get back there and win a game. Just huge for Kermit Davis and his crew. Coach Davis, after the game, made sure that the locker room kept their chins up about this run. Don't think of the final score yesterday. Think of the fact that Middle Tennessee, in its second tournament appearance in 27 years, played 2 games in the NCAA tournament. Beat the 2 seed in Michigan State. Moved on. That's pretty special, and he made sure the guys had their chins up, heads held high when they walked out of that locker room yesterday, despite the score against Syracuse. John Burton was in St. Louis covering the tournament yesterday for us. He got some great reaction from guys in the locker room afterwards. We'll get to some of that here. And let's start with the head coach, Kermit Davis. After the game, 75-50 loss to Syracuse. His team finishes 25-10 on the year, but so much to be proud of after getting that elusive Conference USA tournament title, the automatic bid into the NCAA tournament, and then the upset win on Friday against Michigan State to move on. Here's John Burton with Kermit Davis.
Here with head coach Kermit Davis. And coach, Jimmy Boeheim's 2-3 zone is tough enough, but when you're not hitting shots, it makes it a lot more difficult, doesn't it?
It was. I mean, I thought Syracuse was outstanding today. I mean, they played. They were so good offensively. Their guards were so good. Their bigs were terrific. You know, we kind of struggled early. We got that game going back. We felt good only being down 4 in the first half. Made a good run to start the second half, but Quan Raymond's 4th foul, and then Syracuse just too good. We couldn't get goals around within 5 or 6 feet of the goal.
Giddy and Reggie were so big for you on Friday. They really struggled today. How much did that hurt you?
Well, they've had such a great tournament run, even in Conference USA tournament, and Darnell Harris. And you know, those are 3 guys that they have to play really well like they did against Michigan State to give you a chance. And just wasn't their days today, and it's hard to absorb those kind of guys. You know, they just had an off day, and but they've done so many tremendous things for us lately.
Tough loss. I know it's still sinking in, but will you take a moment to think about the run that you guys had through this tournament and what you guys have done to put MTSU basketball on the map nationally?
We will, no question about it. It'll be probably take a day. We'll bus home tonight, but the next couple of days, you know, these guys have a place in Middle Tennessee State basketball history and in NCAA tournament history, and so that's good. We'll see a lot. These guys, when they're 35 and 40, will be seeing some of their highlights against Michigan State on those one shining moments and great tournament upsets.
And the fact that you guys were able to kind of capture the imagination, you know, of Middle Tennessee and obviously Murfreesboro and beyond, it has to make you feel good.
Well, it does. Yeah, I'm so proud of, you know, I've been there 14 years, so the Middle Tennessee brand means a lot to me, you know, and so I was just glad to see that out there nationally and really kind of around the world. So it was cool to see that.
Coach, congratulations on a great run and a great season. I know it ended in disappointment today, but made a lot of people back home really proud.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Steve.
All right, John, Coach, thank you very much. And I think Kermit Davis said something there. The really cool thing about this is if you're one of those players, or even if you're just a Middle Tennessee fan or alum, you're going to look back at the end of this tournament, one shining moment. They're going to play Middle Tennessee 15-2 upset. That's going to be in there. When you look back a year from now, they're getting ready for the tournament. They're going to play back Middle Tennessee over Michigan State. Some of those shots by Giddy Potts. That's going to be in there. Years from now, when they talk about biggest upsets, biggest surprises in the NCAA tournament, Middle Tennessee is going to be in there. That is the really cool thing, is what a fantastic moment it was on Friday and what a fun weekend it was. But the memories, the history is going to live on for a really, really long time. And that is a very, very cool thing. Got to take a break, but we will have more from the locker room in St. Louis coming up. We'll look at some of the brackets around the tournament as well. And more of your phone calls if you like. Lines are wide open right now. 737-7767 is the number. Stay tuned. You're watching SportsLine here on News Channel 5+.